Hello investors and traders, and welcome to the weekly market report with the market guys. I'm AJ Monty. I'm starting off with a chart of the volatility index, and I'd like to point out the lines that I left from last week's report where I had this resistance point drawn right around 16.5, and as I mentioned in last week's report, I thought it would hit resistance and pull back. It did just that, actually forming what's called a doji. For those of you who are familiar with candle charts, you'll know that a doji is a sign of indecision that is really grouped with spinning tops and other small-bodied candles. So keep that in mind as I go through the rest of this report, because we're seeing a lot of signs right now that tell me we're about to pivot and go the other way. Remember, the VIX is a contrarian indicator to the S&P. So now we are on a support level with a small-bodied candle known as a spinning top. Now here's what my forecast is looking like as I draw my line just like that. I think what's going to happen is that the VIX is going to bounce off of the support, move higher in an effort to retest this resistance, and when that happens, again, because this is a contrarian indicator, I think the S&P will fall back and retrace a bit. Now, with that, let's go to the S&P 500 ETF chart, and you'll see right there that I have my lines from last week again drawn where this was support. Now, this red candle on slightly higher volume tells us that the sellers are starting to move in. So I'm going to draw my line just like this to forecast what I think could happen next week. Again, this is opposite of what we just drew in the VIX because the S&P is going to move opposite from that. Another thing that's very important is that you'll notice that there are lower highs starting to show up on the chart. And on my last Twitter post, I made a comment about Ralph Alcampora being one of the top technical analysts that I've ever met in my life, and that's true. And Ralph even said that in order for us to go higher, we have to start maintaining higher highs. And I don't see that just yet. So this allows me to wave the caution flag yet once again to all those who have long positions. I would recommend that you protect those positions with tight stops or options perhaps, or maybe just lightening up on some of those positions. So that's the S&P. But look at the diamonds. This is the Dow Jones Industrial Average ETF. Again, I left my lines. This is what I said would happen. I said we would bounce off the support level. That's exactly what happened on Monday. We hit that line and then we bounced. So now that that's happened, I could remove these drawings and then draw what I think again is going to happen for next week. This is a bearish engulfing pattern that again tells us that the sellers came in pretty strong today, and being that this is the last day of July, that higher volume tells us that the sellers could start moving in. So this is going to be the real test next week as to whether or not we will hold that level of support. If that support level does not hold, or if that low does not hold, watch out below. We could go a lot lower. Tide is shifting here, looking a lot more bearish than it has in the past couple of months. So make sure that you're protecting yourself along the way. Looking at a more broad-based index, the Russell 2000, you can see, again, I drew my line from last week, which is the former trend line. We are now at that point where I believe we're going to pull back from that former trend line and move lower. You can see that this particular candle has a long shadow. That's that vertical line above the candle. Long shadows above the candle tells us that the buyers tried really hard to get it up over that line, but the sellers came back with force and pushed it down. So that tells us that, again, a pivot point is most likely going to form here, moving us to lower levels. Finally, the Qs, that's the QQQ. It's the power shares for more or less the tech sector. We have had a bounce off of this support level, which is what I've drawn. I'm going to remove that right now, and I'm going to lower my support level. This is where I think the Qs are going to wind up. We have a gap right here below the market, which will most likely act as a magnet to pull prices down. So what I think is going to happen is this. Notice the volume here. When the volume is dropping on an up leg like we've had this week for the Qs, that tells us the buyers are weakening. Remember, dropping volume in an upward move is bearish. Yes, we do still have a gap up here, so yeah, maybe we could test that, but ultimately I think we're going to come back down to retest this support, and then that could be the game changer for us as we start to move into a downward trend. So if you're not following us on Twitter already, please do that. Just go to @theoptionsoracle. You can just go there and you'll see that most of my tweets are market related. I often put charts on here so that you can see what's going on in the market, and you'll learn quite a bit from my free posts here along with our Market Guys website. You'll really be able to see a lot from the video library with lots of different information on there for you to learn about. And again, our website is posted on the Twitter page as well, so you could click on the video tab and get your lessons one video link at a time. So this is AJ Monty, Chief Market Strategist with the Market Guys, signing off. Have a great weekend, and we'll speak with you soon. So long.